Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 4 of the Monday Q&A. So let's do it. First question. You said, not 100% sure you really said that the purpose of isolation exercises is to help with lagging muscles. So if a muscle is not lagging, there's no point of doing isolation exercise for it. That is one of the reasons, you're right, that's one of the reasons I've said. One of the other things could be as a form of prehab. For example, things like the rear delts, or even to some extent, bicep work done correctly in full range of motion could help reduce the chance of tearing a bicep on the deadlift. But things like rear delts are really high on that list, or any muscle that you feel like might be slightly more prone to injury due to just not being thick enough, in addition to not necessarily imbalanced. You just need a little more thickness there for safety purposes. Doing some extra isolation work for it isn't a bad idea, as long as it's not compromising your results in some way. And like with any other exercise, any exercise that you select needs to be selected intelligently, and it really should be something that's your best choice. If you can find another exercise that for your specific goal would do a better job, or it would do an equal job, but would also help with another goal in addition to it, you should always choose that latter exercise rather than the former. So that you can multitask with each exercise that you do, rather than it only doing one thing if there's an exercise that can help you in multiple ways. So your selection should always be based upon individual needs, not something always as simple as just a lagging muscle group. I just don't like people arbitrarily throwing in accessory work without having a really good reason that they've thought out for having an exercise in their program, if that makes sense. If you can justify it and it's reasonable to put 5 different isolation movements into a program, and they're truly justified and you've thought it through and they're your best choices, then by all means do 5 isolation movements. Just for most people, that's not going to be the case. All right, next question. Jason, what is your opinion on recreational lifters participating in a powerlifting meet? Do you feel that meets should be for the more dedicated athlete only? Would like to hear your opinion on this. Thanks. Powerlifting has always been a grassroots sport. It has always been an amateur sport. Even though people use terms like pro powerlifting, there is no such thing as a professional powerlifter. Not really like we would think of. So while there might be a lot of truly dedicated athletes, I don't see a problem with any given powerlifting meet outside of a national or international championship with 50% of the field being filled up with recreational lifters. I don't see an issue there, and I would encourage that because it actually improves the outreach of the sport. So I would actually encourage recreational lifters to do a powerlifting meet just to try it out. And if for nothing else, giving you something to train for once a year will help you be more motivated in your training and more focused and get better results even if you're purely recreational. It's just in my experience. So yeah, I'd say go for it. I actually like to see recreational lifters giving powerlifting a try. All right, next question. What are some tips for deadlifting with non-round plates? Fat-sided plates mess me up with the range of motion and cause the barbell to misalign many times in between reps. Well, misalignment between reps shouldn't matter because you should never be touching and going. And if you're touching and going, you're already at a higher risk of injury. And if you're doing it with the diagonal plates, you're at an even higher chance of injury. So don't touch and go. What I recommend is that if the only plates you have to deadlift with are hexagonal plates, you basically need to do rest pause reps. You need to reset and probably readjust your footing and even possibly re-grip the bar on every single rep. So you might be taking up to 5 seconds between reps resetting yourself up if you're doing that, and you're still going to get good results, and that's going to be your safest way to deadlift with those type of plates. It's as simple as that. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.